Good morning, fellow shareholders. You might have the question why I didn't publish any communication last week. Well, it was for legal reasons. I got a letter from the Homeowners Association in which they basically asked me to shut up, which I wasn't prepared to do, but we reacted by saying they've got 7 days to institute dispute procedures as it is explained within the MOI. The MOI makes it compulsory to follow internal dispute procedures before you go to a civil court. It's only when this procedure fails that you're allowed to go to civil court. And the 7 days came and gone, and they have not instituted any legal dispute procedures. In the letter from our lawyer to their lawyer, we also asked for their registration detail with the Community Schemes Ombudsman for proper Community Schemes Ombudsman services. And we just got a flat silence from them. So I went onto the website of the CSOS and found that the Clarence Golf and Leisure Estate is not registered with the CSOS. And I speak about it extensively within the written part of this message. It's just that what is interesting is that in the previous dispute that the board had with Graham Ambrose, they immediately resorted to using Fluxman's as their representative lawyer, and a couple of letters went back and forth. But I'm talking like maybe 3 letters back and forth. And then the dispute was settled by doing a special meeting and then to approve the necessary resolution. And Fluxman billed the estate a whopping 100,000 Rand for 3 letters. So these guys are not the cheapest lawyers around the block. And once again, in this dispute, they used Fluxman's. So you have to ask questions in terms of how money is being spent when the board, the administration don't adhere to their own disciplinary procedures and immediately start going to the most expensive lawyer that I've ever heard of in matters like this. It's not fair and it's not transparent, and it's in direct violation of their own freaking rules. So another thing that's beginning to happen with these communications that are sent out, it seems that a general animosity has started taking hold on the admin guys. And we had an incident. We've got a WhatsApp group that had about 53 members of the estate that participated in that. And at some point, with Eskom coming to Clarence to discuss the implications of registering with NERSA and so forth, I placed a WhatsApp that specifically asked questions as to what would the implications be for the estate if certain homeowners decided to go off the grid completely. Now, it doesn't sound like a complicated question, but if you take into account that the estate is paying 40,000 Rand a month just for line fees, then we haven't used any electricity. And we are, let's say, 121 users. Those line fees need to be paid somehow. So my question was, is the line fee settled out of the levies, or is it part of the electricity bill that we all pay at the end of a certain month? The implication being that if you have 10 guys going offline, then they don't expect to pay any electricity of any kind. So they're basically withdrawing from the prospect of paying their share of a line fee. And as the amount of owners become less and the guys using solar becomes more, the guys that are not onto solar are going to start paying more and more and more. So this was the basic gist of it. The other questions were that basically we've got our own distribution center. So Eskom's line of service ends the moment it enters into the transformer of the Clarence Gulf estate. From there on, it's distributed over the estate into 9 different transformers. We are responsible for those transformers, and we are responsible for servicing those transformers. So thereby the question, does Eskom have any right then to force us to comply with their rules? Does Eskom have the power to insist that we register with NERSA as individuals? Because a strong argument is quite simply that their responsibility towards the estate ends the moment the electricity gets fed into our transformers. And these are quite simple, straightforward questions that I put on the website, and suddenly was just erased by Desiree. She's the admin on the group. So I counted and said, listen, this is just simply an informative piece. These are questions that I want answers to, that we are prepared in terms of knowing what to do, when to do it, etc. And she deleted my WhatsApp once again. Then suddenly Peter Newbury came onto the group, and he commented about the new tariff structure that NERSA has approved. I started to join the conversation. Desiree went on the group, deleted everyone's WhatsApp message, and then simply changed the group so that only admins can send messages on the group. So she's an admin employee. Why would an admin employee feel that she's got the power to delete homeowners' WhatsApps on a group? And who gave her the right to do that? It's a WhatsApp group with a legitimate concern, a legitimate discussion, and she just decides on her own that this conversation is, she's not allowing it on this group. It seems that I don't know, the admin staff just don't feel responsible or a responsibility to the homeowners. If that is an attitude, then we need to do something about it. Those guys are being paid, their salaries are being paid by our levies that we collect and then pay over to the Homeowners Association. And I would suggest that some sensitivity training be introduced. I would suggest that some form of a disciplinary procedure should be followed, because we are not to be looked over and silenced as admin seems fit. Being on that point, I requested twice to admin that they create a WhatsApp group with all the homeowners on the estate, in which we are then allowed to discuss anything and everything that homeowners have in common about an estate where we all have invested money. It's just silence. You just don't get any response. Nobody even picks up the phone. So you can't get to the conclusion that you can't help but getting to the conclusion that the admin staff don't want homeowners to talk to one another. They don't want to enable that, and they for sure are not going to do anything from their side to get a WhatsApp group going with all the necessary contact details of everyone in there. Quite simply, that's how they want to control, I suppose, or manage this estate. So when you've got a problem, it's isolate. You're the only one that's got the problem. And so, we look at it, but, you're complaining. And I've seen this done over and over, especially those of you on the WhatsApp group when referring to dirty water issues. It's immediately a question of, you get a private WhatsApp, so as in, these are our water samples, they're clear. What are you talking about? You're trying to create a problem or something, which is not the case. Over and over, people have reported dirty water issues, and then you just don't hear the end of it. It's just silenced. And I, for one, am starting to take really exception to the attitude that we're getting from management on this estate. especially if they don't go to the trouble of being compliant to their own rules and registering with the ombudsman. So, guys, these practices and the way they are being implemented and the way they are going about the day-to-day business, this is the kind of thing that happens when structures aren't transparent. And we need to change that. So I would suggest, one thing that I would really strongly go for, should I get to serve on the board again, is to publish all minutes of all meetings. So the minutes of the board meetings, the minutes of the AGM meetings, the minutes of the Golf Advisory Committee should be published on a website where you can only access the information if you're a member of the Clarence Homeowners Association. So in other words, if you own a property here, that's the only way you'd be able to access that. But you would be able to access it from anywhere in the world or anywhere where you are. So if something gets done and it doesn't make sense, you can actually go into this website, see what was decided, and then either, it makes sense, or if it doesn't make sense, enables you to write an email and say, listen, guys, you're doing this thing, but I'm not agreeing with this, and you should be able to debate that with anyone else in the estate that's affected by said course of action taken by the admin staff. So I think that, for instance, when lobbying for serving on the board, how do you communicate with everyone that's homeowner on the estate if there's no structure in place? So on the one side, board members are elected, but on the other side, you're not allowed to lobby. You're not allowed to tell people out there, listen, this and this and this is the stuff that I want to change. And you as a homeowner, you're not able to follow if this director that you voted for, if he is in fact doing what he promised. So you just throw a vote out there and then you sit back and pray that it gets done. So by accessing all these documents, you can actually control, or you can satisfy yourself that the director is in fact looking at whatever is a concern to you. And you would also be able to see when directors make decisions and that does not, in your opinion, benefit the estate, then at the next election you vote him out. That's how democracy works. That's how election works. But this estate insists on being completely non-transparent, and that's something I think that we need to change. Thank you for your time and trouble. Have a nice evening. Bye.